Greetings. So this video is to just follow up with the recent video that was posted that has now been made, that I made unlisted, and then carefully just reconsidering. I just want to apologize to the brother that shared the video. Although I may have all kinds of opinions of, you know, the motives, intentions for people calling and sharing, whether some of it was sincere, which it may have been, and that was what was expressed. Ultimately, I want to make sure that people, just the names of people and families are protected. That needs to be corrected and addressed straightforward. I still stand where I stand, and I'm going to also share my thought process. I'm not going to minimize, and I'm not going to apologize for being angry, taken advantage of, and manipulated in a very vulnerable place, and sharing things that were very vulnerable, and unfortunately it coming down to just a matter of money. But it's not just about money. Even if in my ignorance and not being aware of certain things, of these people not being fully forthcoming and speaking in very, how can you say, in a language that they created that had their own meanings and their own concepts, and not being very upfront and clear, I and my family got taken to school. I definitely own that I encouraged my son and my sister to come to Central America. That is without a doubt. I encouraged them to come, to get out of the city, all the black men and black males that were being killed. Not that there's anything new, but at a seemingly increasing rate. And always have been on the lookout for what is another way for us to live. What's the best way to invest our time and resources, and looking to family and community. So I will say I didn't have a frame of reference, even though you can read things and books, and read lots of spiritual books. I got taken to school, so I'm going to own that lesson. The videos that were put out, one of my main intentions was to make sure at least folks, when they look online, they can cross-reference, because quite often there are elders or people that this new generation doesn't have a frame of reference or a background on. And you can Google certain things, you just might not be able to find it. Or a young person or young adult that's newly fresh out and looking to find their way may not be, and quite often isn't as savvy as someone in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, although they are chronologically maybe in their late teens or early 20s. So I definitely wanted to just leave a trail for people to do their homework and reference, because as one mother shared, when they looked up information on this this elder, so-called Earth Solar Messiah, they couldn't find anything negative on him. So without a frame of reference, I don't blame the mothers, because the mothers want the best for their children, and sometimes will do anything to save and protect their children. And to be quite frank, I, as well as many other mothers that are in there, would take a look and say, well, I know where my child is. They're not doing drugs. They're eating living foods. They're growing food that seems like 1,000 times better than what's out in the streets. I just could have never banked on the amount of control or the treatment. And from where I stand, what I experience is not up for debate. Life energy of what was worked hard for to get here, to get to Central America. And so, but just knowing that somebody, that folks should be held accountable, and quite often elders quite often are not held accountable. So I'm feeling accountability every day, because we can't, well, you know, what we had before is gone. And things not being upfront, and how folks were just dealing around money and not giving, being fully, fully forward or fully visible with their intentions, and switching agreements up, really controlling negotiations and things like that, all the secrets. I think it's quite dangerous. But at this point, if this is how people choose to live their lives, if people choose not to do their research, some people will still knowingly go into a cult. I went into it. I didn't know, I didn't have a frame of reference really for what a cult was, but some people are going to knowingly go into these different factions. And yes, that is their choice. But hopefully, you know, people will be responsible and do their research. I consider me pretty responsible, but I got taken to school. So I definitely just want to apologize to the brother that shared the information. And also express that at the point that different people were contacting my sister and I, people who we don't know personally, we really have to be concerned for our safety. And I will also definitely say, as a woman, I'm not a male. I can't sit from where a male is. But I can definitely say I have to really wonder about people's, on the whole, their intention when we found out that so many peers of this man, not a lot, but some peers of this person is well aware of his movements over the years, and different people that have a frame of reference for him. Well, no one has said anything, or maybe it's just a matter of a generation gap. And maybe that's something I could say as a community, but then again, can I really say community, because there's no, being that we're so disjointed and dismembered, we don't have any protocol. And I'm speaking of the solarized, the melanated community with all of its different nuances. There's no protocol if there is a violation. There is really no council of elders, and I'm saying this as someone that sought counsel from a council of elders. I sought some corrective action. I'm pretty sure Mr. Joseph Robinson may be breathing a sigh of relief. You know, he finally got us tired enough, you know, to not say anything. But know this, be aware that to continue to not be upfront on your dealings with folks, or to exploit or mislead women and children, women in vulnerable states in their lives, coming to you for assistance, it's not acceptable. It's not going to be tolerated, and that's not something that you want to do. Or for women to sit in silence when they know that things are happening, whoever your mate happens to be, and to allow certain things to happen, to allow younger women to be misled. Yeah, it's not something that you want to do. So know that. Sure, you thought we would just be totally broke and tired, but remember, just like you said all the time, you gave us credit for being resilient. And that is from the heart. So yes, it is correct. You are dealing with women with a conscience who have a great care for women and children. And the abuse of women and children and the misleading and the manipulation, it's not a good idea. There needs to be some accountability. And no one needs to be abused or scammed in our community, whether that's older, younger, male, or female. Not a good idea. So a good idea in your dealings, be up front, because you will be held accountable, as we all will. I don't have a lot of tolerance for rhetoric or double talk, or people not being fully clear with what they're saying, where I have to decipher too much what they're saying. It's simple. It's really simple. You know, how you treat people, when no one is looking, being direct and having the uncomfortable but respectful conversation. So I can't speak for everyone, and I by no means hate men. So I can only do what I'm responsible for. But I will say that respect I'm learning is having to come, I'm very clear, from inside first. And I'm very clear, I will speak up at the drop of a dime when I feel that there is an injustice. Because if I don't speak up, I can't wait on somebody else that's being so polite and trying not to offend an elder or a clergy or a guru to speak up for me and to make it plain exactly what I'm saying, or to misconstrue my words, or to, you know, to tell me I should be wooing somebody, you know, or to tell me what their interpretation of what they think femininity is, why I can't express. But I don't want to accept full accountability that for my ignorance, or putting someone on a pedestal as a father figure, you know, seeking someone for advice, which is not a crime, I would think would make common sense. But I've just learned to run a better litmus test, or a more refined litmus test before really holding somebody in a certain type of esteem. Because I can't speak for all people, but I know, and I'm working to secure a young black male to ensure that he will become an honorable male, and he's going to be somebody's father one day. So this may be a bit long-winded, but I just want to make sure that I just acknowledge that the brother and the sisters in the video, that they're protected. I want to apologize for not consulting first before that video was up there first, to see if they wanted to put that information out. I will also say that I do think because so much is left out of the telling of a story, the context gets misconstrued, and when people see all of these videos out there, it's easy to sway the camera or leave different words out or leave time periods out, and people have all different types of shifting of names, and you can't tell who is who or what is what. There were so many different things that I saw that really led to me being very distrustful, and mainly because we allowed our communications to be controlled by others. That was a really, really big thing. So, because something still happened to us out in the regular world, and it's still killing, all that stuff is still going on, but you know, the intention and the energy I put into personal development, that's not going to change. But my main focus is not to focus on Joseph Robinson. We're taught to that anger is not spiritual, when if you're being mistreated or talked down to in a condescending manner, or scammed or violated, we're taught to be just spiritual about it without even processing, you know, our emotions. And sometimes not sometimes, quite often, it's been demonstrated it borders on a lack of common sense to not be able to. Everybody, I know I've gotten my lessons, my family has gotten their lessons. I have to really, really think how could I be open to this person, but I'm also very clear, and I always knew if things did not add up that I could leave. I want to be very clear, we wanted to leave numerous times, but there was so much stuff that was secretive. We're really talked to and encouraged to stay because we've put so much energy into you, but at some point the control, we weren't feeling. Right now we're not really in unison as a community, so each person or a small family or whatever family will have to use their own judgment and their own morals for corrective action, get their lessons and keep it moving, and hopefully family and community will develop organically, and not be some fantasy that we're romanticizing and thinking that people, just because you eat fruits and vegetables and you have access to coconuts, that you don't have flaws. We all have label white man, whether you're white or black. No one deserves to be abused. Sit and deal with a lot, you know, it's a lot on us as mothers. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm responsible to do. But enough. There's been enough said. If people want to come and have a legal communication so that there is some type of consequence, we've always been totally open to it. This is the only way that we've gotten a response from Joseph Robinson. But again, so much is left out on these videos. So much. People are asking questions. Why are you talking over each other? You know, we're on the side of the road with a tethering device in Central America and moving fast. So there's just so much that people can't see because this is the internet and you're looking at people through a camera. So I'm not here seeking people's approval or their permission. People are going to come up with whatever they have to. So I have to continue to do what I'm doing in my life. I just hope folks do their research before they join any of these groups and not romanticize and fantasize about getting out of the United States. It can be done, but make sure you save your money. You deal with again. Just want to make sure that I just acknowledged the folks that were in the video. The brother in particular that was sharing. I don't think there was anything wrong with what he said, because he has the right to say what his experience is, just as I do, and just as Joseph Robinson does. But I'm very clear. I'm crystal clear how much people want to say somebody's nice or good or bad on what I experienced there. And when we remove the good or bad, we have to look at what was done. You can only see so much from the video. So we sat quietly for a long time. We put all of our documentation up until it is to be used, and whichever way it's going to be used. But you know, all of this is not for public entertainment. It's just so that there's a paper trail. People can do their own research to make sure they don't get caught up into any of these cults. And if you're well informed, you go into it, then maybe, you know, these are just the lessons that everybody has to learn. So with that, just wishing everybody a lot of health, clarity, motivation to continue working on your own being and deciding what's the best way that you want to live, whether that's in the city or in the tropics. Wishing you a lot of just a lot of peace, because that is the goal over here. I always have to think, what am I here for? All right, folks, take care. One more thing I wanted to add that I just have to add, honestly. We're in a time, well, it's been a long time where many women have not had a voice to speak out, and it's coming to light. Some men, younger males and adult males, but the amount of abuse, there's so much talk of the white man and white supremacy, and I have to say a lot of dysfunction comes from internal, and it really needs to be addressed, and it needs to be conversations, not necessarily lynchings, public lynchings, but there needs to be corrective action, and there need to be some real conversations, because in folks refusing to have uncomfortable conversations and refusing to ask questions, that's how a lot of things go unchecked. And we really are long overdue for an internal cleanup campaign within our own communities and within and I don't wish any bad on those people, on those folks. However, I do feel that everyone should be held accountable, and a long time ago there's been every opportunity to meet with us to rectify this situation. And again, it just amazes me that older folks, chronologically older folks, don't ask questions and don't request meetings for full disclosure. So in that, I'm going to say peace.